Okay, I feel like the YouTube's working and the Facebook's working pretty soon. And okay, got the Instagram going here, and let's start. We're going on to Clubhouse. If you want to join the conversation, please come on Clubhouse. The link should be in the bio. We're going to be talking about famous Asian actors you need to know. And hopefully this is going to work. This is the first time we're going to do Clubhouse and live stream at the same time. Let's break my computer. I'm sure that's what's going to happen. Let's just try it. Oh, come on. It's not even going to work now. Cancel this. Okay, this is fine. I don't need to watch this anymore. Okay, I can, come on. This thing is like, my computer's about to die. That's what's happening right now. So close that out. Your computer. Ignore that. Hey, Francis, we're going to go on Clubhouse if you want to jump in. This is going to be a multi-layer of live streaming and Clubhouse. If you want to join the conversation, you should be able to join it on Clubhouse. If it's going to start, come on. It's got to start. It's got to work. Please work. Come on. It's not going to start. Why isn't it starting? Start your room. Oh, come on. It's not even... Oh, there we go. I think it's working. Yeah, let's see if it should be working. Oh, shoot. We're just going to try this. This is okay. So I see myself. The topic is I should put that in the thing. The topic is famous Asian American Pacific Islander actors you should know. So let's see. I'm going to pin this. Famous AAPI. Hey, Clubhouse. Let's see. Okay, hey, Clubhouse. Let's see this is going. The room is live. Famous Asian American actors you should... I can't get any spelling right. Good. This is so much. I don't like this. Welcome, Clubhouse. You can't see me right now. We are doing Clubhouse and live streaming at the same time. So far, it's working. We're going to see how much it works. Until then, I need to pin a link. There's like so much going on right now, and I hate that I can't like set it up ahead of time. But if you want to join us on live stream, you can go to our link in the bio. If it's on Clubhouse, I don't know how you're going to do that. I guess I could add it to the top of here, huh? Let's see. If I go here, I can add that. I'm using everything on my computer. My phone is just my my thing. Pin a link. Okay. Pin the link. Is it gonna show? No. We'll get started in a few minutes. I want to see if this is gonna work at all. Because right now this is great, but I'm actually excited that it's rooming at all. So thank you so much for joining in. We are going to talk about famous actors you should know, Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders. There's so many I've reached over and talked about through the past years on my podcast. I'm just inspired by them all the time. They are amazing people. Okay, there's that one. It's so slow. I need a new computer. That's what I need. And let's see, invalid seek request. Fuck you. And it just feels like we need to be talking about them because we don't know about them. That's the thing. We don't know about Asian Americans in entertainment beyond YouTube, right? Sometimes we get them from YouTube and we hear about them, but we don't know about, we don't talk about Cesaro Kawas, Frank Chin, Greg Watanabe, Guy Aoki, Harold Sakata, Jacqueline Chan, Jaden Wong, James Shigeta, Jun Kyoto. I have like a list of 200 Asian American actors that we don't talk about. Just from like the 1910s, 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, like we just don't talk about them. It's a really crazy thing that we just don't even know about them. And that's why I want to be there. You ordered the count. Make me a mod if you need assistance. Yeah, actually, Francis, I would make you a mod, but I don't see you in the room. That's just the club deck. If I ever see you, or maybe you jump in, jump out, it'd be great. But would love some help because I can't get this going. But yeah, I'm excited because we're gonna talk about this for an hour, maybe 2 hours, and do that. Francis, I'm confused. You ordered the calendar. I didn't order. I didn't make any calendars, so raising my hand. See, I can't raise hands. So the thing is, I'm using Club Deck. Club Deck is a desktop platform for Clubhouse. You can record audio. You can do these. There's Francis. Okay, they invite on stage. Yeah, and sometimes it's just okay. There it goes. Maybe that's why. It's not perfect. So let me see if I can even hear you. I should be able to hear you, and the people on the live stream should be able to hear you. So if anybody can go to the live stream on the YouTube or the Facebook, you should be able to hear it. Yeah, see, it's just not working. So we're going to see if this works at all. If not, it's just going to be me talking, which is totally fine. Okay, Francis, let me hear you. How you doing? Hey, I can hear you. Fabulous. This is like... This is great. Oh, look, and the Facebook is going, or the YouTube's going. But yeah, Francis, how are you today? How are you feeling? Oh, fantastic! Yeah. Oh my gosh. Did you like In the Heights? How'd you perceive it? I think I liked it too. You know, besides all the politics behind it, I think it was just it was a good film to watch. And I love the new format of musical theaters turning into visual film mediums. And I think because I don't always go to the theater, but you know, to add in, I love that theater adds in you know, the elements of making it really cool and making something that's yeah, how do you do that? It's like magic, right? But like film is magic too. And I think when they added those other elements to it, it's cool. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Totally. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, ooh, Wicked would be kind of cool. Join us. Join us. I'm gonna put this on the thing. We're just gonna be. It's gonna be a time and a half today. Link in bio, and we're just gonna try everything because, you know, new year, always ready to fail, always ready to try new things. Oh, I can make you a moderator. So if you can see people, I can only see like 3 or 4 people in the room. I see Jenny, Lynn, Lance, Leo, Coco. Thanks for joining. If you want to come to stage, please raise your hand and join us for the conversation. So I want to use this space for, excuse me, I want to use this space for us to share names that we don't know, talk about the history of Asian Americans. User's not in the room. Francis, are you a moderator? Did it let you be a moderator? I can't hear you. I want to share. I have a list of names that we can talk about. We're going to talk about a little bit of their histories. I've been reading a book. If you're on the live stream, I've been reading the book Hollywood Asian, Philip Ahn and the Politics of Cross-Ethnic Performance. I think it's an incredible story about himself, but also just the politics of filmmaking. That's what's really important too. Thank you, Mark. Because I think that's when we talk about cross-ethnic performances, you know, for example, I'm Japanese American. If I play someone who's Chinese American, what does that say? Right, we're talking about authenticity. We talk about who should be playing who should be writing for who. I'm more focused on who's writing for whom. But when we talk about it, who's performing, what they talk about in the book is the idea that if you're of one race, you probably don't know the language of another race, most likely. So Philip Ahn was a Korean American. He was known as the #1 Korean for Hollywood, known as #1 Korean, which is hilarious. But he was the first Korean American actor, and he played Japanese American, Chinese American, and only 5% of the time did he play Korean American. And so what the idea behind it was that they didn't know Korean so much, and during the time of World War II, America was at war with Japan, so they made Philip Ahn. There were no Japanese because all the Japanese went to internment camps, but they made Philip Ahn play evil Japanese characters. And when after the war and friendly Chinese characters, so they were on the same side, it was very strange. I'm actually going to go through a whole list of movies that he played on. and also watch them because I think that's really important. Just Asian American cinema history. But because some of the examples that they played was that he only speaks Korean, and it's like North Korean, and he's also from America. So his parents were from North Korea at the time, and they came over, so he learned their language. But when he did the movies, they'd say speak Chinese. Like, I don't speak Chinese. I speak Korean. Like, no one back in the 30s, 40s, like no one knows the difference. Go ahead, just speak. No one cares. But when the Korean audiences saw the films, they obviously knew it wasn't Chinese, and he's not Chinese, and sometimes they knew Philip Ahn because his father was also famous. That's what's hilarious about it. So there's actually a very big example that one time, I don't think it was Philip Ahn, it was someone else. The quote said, speak in Chinese, so he spoke in Korean, and he said, "These stupid Americans. They told me to speak Chinese. I'm so sorry. I'm going to speak Korean for the Korean Americans out there for Koreans who can understand my language right now. Jokes for us." And actually that movie did so well in Korea because of that extra joke. That was a hilarious part. So I just want to talk about some other famous names that we don't know about, and leave it up to the audience to join us in the conversation, ask about different people. If you know somebody I'm not knowing about, there's a lot of people I do have, but I'm always looking for new names. I'm looking and underlining names all the time. So please join the conversation. But I'm going to hand it over to Francis for a minute. Francis, do you have anything you want to add before, as we get started? Do you have hey, Jenny Lynn, do you have somebody who you want to shout out as someone who inspires you as an actor, who inspired you to do work, and someone that we might not know about? I would love to hear their name. Is that okay? Thanks, Mark. Yeah. Yes. I've seen some of the photos. They're incredible, and I feel like everybody should definitely do it. If you can find the link and post it up on the pin the link thing, please do. I think that's something that we can all. Yeah, that's great. I'm trying to. So anybody who's on the live stream, I'm trying to get the audio from Clubhouse, which should be able to work. But is this Jenny Lynn?
Just wanted to ask about the live stream that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure where I can get the link from.
Yes, I'm trying to. So I'm using my computer right now, and I'm using computer for Clubhouse, so you can use Club Deck. I'm trying to pin the link, and it says pin a link, but it won't give me anything to pin. Oh, there's something. You can also go to my Instagram account and go to the link in bio, and should go to the YouTube page. You can also find us on Facebook at Strong Asian Lead, facebook.com/Strong Asian Lead. It's coming up. Let's see. YouTube. I think that's one link. It's gonna be a really slow day. Here,
Yeah, Mass, I already posted the link. It's the Broadway Asian Man calendar as a celebration of the hot Asian men of Broadway, brought to you by Unapologetically Asian in collaboration with Mari Uchida, who is also an Asian American photographer. So check them out. I posted the link here in Clubhouse. So
Fabulous.
it's amazing.
Fabulous. Great. Thank you for doing that. I kind of see it. It's this whole thing. Gentlemen, I will send you, I will DM you if it lets me DM.
Okay.
Link.
Okay.
I wish you could do multiple. We should be able to hear it on it now. I see the bar is moving, but I just moved. I think I just about moved you. No, I don't want to move the audience. Well, I'll make moderator mute. How do I? I would say just go to my Instagram account and go to the link in bio. It should show up there because I can't.
Okay, sure. No worries.
Yeah, my computer. I'm using an old laptop and it's running all the live streams plus the Clubhouse plus recordings plus my mic. It's a whole thing. And so thank you for everybody's patience. I hope maybe we'll find a better way to do this next time, or maybe we won't do live streaming. We'll just see how it goes. But yes, so Jenny Lynn, while I'm maybe trying to get this link to you, do you want to add in a name? So for everybody else who just joined the room, we're talking about famous Asian American Pacific Islander actors who you should know. There's so many people that we don't talk about, so I would love to hear from you. So Jenny Lynn, do you have any recommendations?
Would it be acceptable if I were to mention actors that are not American?
Sure, that's totally fine. I do want to start focus on Asian American actors because there's a lot of Asian actors that we do know about, and we don't get to hear about them. But Asian American is a very specific topic that we don't get the Asian American history in cinema. We don't get that topic. A lot of times schools do teach Asian cinema, but they never teach Asian American cinema, and that's what I really want to focus on in this club. And
I would like to share actors who are Asians, but they're sort of in Hollywood, but it's that they're not American.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think they're doing fairly well over there, and I'm actually pretty proud and pretty happy for them.
Yeah, please.
Okay. I'd like to share Michelle Yeoh.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's a brilliant actor. My mom and her actually grew up in the same school. They're friends, and it's really happy to see like someone from where I'm from. I'm from Malaysia, and she's representing Malaysia in the Hollywood screen and all that, and she's doing superbly well. She's in a lot of major movies in Hollywood. She's in Star Trek. She's in Marvel. She's honestly she's done it all. Another person I like to mention is also Henry Golding. Funny enough, one of my friends was actually, I think, housemates with him way back when, before he got married and all that. And also really happy for him to make it there in Hollywood. He has done some. He has did a movie with Blake Lively, Amelia Clark. I think he's in the upcoming.
He's in a lot of things. He's done a lot. Did we lose you? Or am I just frozen? Jenny Lynn, are you there? Francis, can you hear me? I can't hear anybody. If you're on the live stream, if you can hear them, great. If you can't hear me, I don't know what's going on. There's so much that we probably won't do this again, this format. We're going to try this one time, but it doesn't seem to be working the way I need it to. I'm having a super struggle with the program and doing that. So I don't really care that we're failing today. It's just, we're always trying something new. And I think it's better to try and fail than not try at all, right? So you're not on. Well, I'm not on Clubhouse. I see myself. I didn't get kicked out.
There's a lot for us to actually look forward to. That we must support and follow our own. Oh, there he is.
It just kicked me out. I can't even see that it kicked me out. I'm just like running. I guess I'm just running too many things.
Mas, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little bit. Your volume's a little bit low though.
Okay, 1 second. That should feel a little better.
Yes,
Yeah,
so much
Oh,
better.
okay.
way better.
Okay. Yeah. I'm again. All the whole things. Just moving around. It's like breaking. But again, I'd rather try new things and watch it fail and see if it works than not try it at all and never get anything done. So it's good. So glad. Yeah. But thank you for shouting out Henry Golding and Michelle. Yeah, I know one of my friends is it's his mother, and so I'm like that's pretty cool. But she's done a ton of work, and so has Henry Golding. But yeah, I would love to. I think those people we kind of know, right? I think that's the thing I really want to focus on here is I want us to start focusing on Asian American actors before the year 2000. Like we kind of know those names, we're kind of hearing them now. Might even get Tony Leung. I didn't even know him before Shang-Chi, but some people they even like again. I keep bringing him up because he's my uncle, but my uncle's been an actor since the '60s. Like people don't know his name. He's been in so many TV shows: Seinfeld, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Royal Pains. He was on an episode of X-Files. He's just been in almost everything. And it's just so moving to see that. Let's see. But Vani said Sarita Choudary, which I haven't heard that name. And that's what I'm here for, right? It's always looking for all these people that we get lost to time and not able to talk about them. We're not able to know them. They're not in our vernacular of people. And Vani, if you're on Clubhouse, I would love for you to speak about her and tell us about her life, if you know anything. And keep us posted, because I think that's, again, we're learning about their lives. I always love the story of Pat Morita, and I think I talked about him yesterday, but he's just got an incredible life that we don't know about. We just know them as actors. We know them as maybe one movie, maybe two, but sometimes they've paved the way for us. I'm not gonna do a show of hands or anything because I can't see anything anyways, but I know people don't know about Jack Soo. Jack Soo was a Japanese American actor from way back in the day. He's one of the first, and his actual name was Goro Suzuki, and so Jack Suzuki, that's who it was short for. And he did everything. He was actually named. He actually did a vocal. Hey Bravani, he did a vocalization for a song that was very American, and they actually recorded it. It sounds amazing. He sounded like the next Barry Manilow or Bob what's his name. And he did I'm sure my RAM is terrible. And they recorded it, but they never published it. They said, no, we're not going to publish it. And it sounds so good. They said he actually had a really beautiful voice. And he had his own show for it's called Barry Miller, and it was a cop show, and he was one of the funniest guys. He paved the way for Asian Americans to come in, and he wasn't very pretty, but he did that. And so I want to pay respect to these people. We have a section here called Strong Asian Legacies, because they made legacies for us, and I think it's really important. But Bhavani's on stage. Bhavani, it's so good to have you here and hear you from you again. How are you?
Good, how are you? Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year. Yes, I'm doing great. I'm, as you saw, I'm on a live stream streak. This is what I'm going to do for the next year, and I'm scared, but
Love it.
just going to keep talking, keep speaking and sharing. But yeah, Bonnie, you shared a name with us. I would love for you to speak
Well,
about
there are
her.
a couple actually.
Oh,
So
please.
the first one I wanted to mention, she was in Mississippi Masala with Denzel Washington. So she definitely was on the scene. Sorry, I'm looking up the year right now. Her name is Sarita Choudary, and interestingly, she's been on a bunch of things. She does a lot of indie stuff, but she recently, and you can catch her this Thursday, she's going to be in Just Like That, the new Sex and the City spinoff. She's already been on it like 2 weeks ago, but she's amazing. And, she was in, as I said, Mississippi Masala with Denzel Washington, which was one of the first movies to show interracial, at least with the South Asian woman, to show interracial relationships. And
Wow.
the movie came out in 1991.
Incredible. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. See, these are the movies we need
Before
to hear
that,
about.
sorry, before that there was Sabu, who was the original guy from Jungle Book. And I want to say that was, I'll tell you, 1942.
Yeah, I've heard that name before.
Yeah,
Sabu.
Sabu was the original Mughali.
Yeah, can you pronounce his last name for us? Like Dastagir.
I'm the worst at pronouncing names, but I'll give it a
I think
try.
it's
Dastirigi.
Dastigi.
I'm gonna go. I will find out, and I will make sure I say it properly next time. But oddly enough, I just found this out. He's from my parents' home state. I'm just
Oh.
looking him up on Wikipedia, so now I just have like this massive more connection to this man. By the way, he did die at the age of 39, though, which is
Mm.
very sad in Los Angeles. He was born in 1937 and he passed away in 1963. The other person that I definitely want to mention, and there's many, many, many more, but the two that come to mind, one is Persis Kambata. Most of you know her from Star Trek and from the Superman 2 movies. She was one of the lead villains in that movie. And Perseus was
Mm.
also on Star Trek. And the other person I want to mention is Tito. Tito was in a bunch of things. He was, I think, last known for the Cosby Show, not the Cosby Show. Cosby, after the kids are all gone out of the house, he played a taxi car driver, which was sad, but he was there before everybody else. So here were people who were South Asian. Oh, and there's one other person. Oh my gosh, she's a very famous Anglo-Indian actress who actually never claimed being South Asian
Mm.
because back then it wasn't cool. So because she was Anglo American, she kept all of her like English stuff, but she never claimed her Indian stuff. I think at the very end she did. I can find out that name and I'll mention it later. But yeah, and she was in the black and white era like Sabu. That's me done talking. Sorry.
No, no, that's incredible. Yeah, no, never be sorry here. Um, yeah, I'm looking at.
Mas,
Yes, and it's Moss. It's Moss like boss and Masami.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mas, can I add something? I
yeah.
was just gonna say this earlier when you were mentioning Jack Sue.
Mm-hmm.
He actually is in a Broadway hit musical called The Flower Drum Song.
Yeah.
He's the original, one of the original leads in The Flower Drum Song, which is and we're talking about Broadway, the golden ages before the 60s. So this is before, what do you call it, around the times, I think, as far as I can remember, this like, Sound of Music is in around this era. So if you this, he is actually one of the first people who shined during the golden age of musical theater, and he's one of the first people who was known. He got that break, but of course he also got done a lot. But yeah, this is I'm just want to slip in Flower Drum Song on Jack Sue's credits there.
Yeah, thank you. I think those are. There's so many theater. I think that's the other thing that we don't talk about. That the theatrical plays of Asian American actors have been around for a lot longer than even not maybe not longer for film, but in theater in general, a lot longer than film because it's been it's a storytelling device. So Asian Americans have been able, Asians in general, or a lot of every community has always had theater for themselves, and that becomes storytellers. So it's almost confusing why Hollywood doesn't think we're got good storytellers. One of the Toshiro Mifune is a Japanese actor. Many people know him from like The Last Samurai and the Akira Kurosawa films. But one of the last films, I think the last film he did was Picture Bride with Tamlin Tomita, and he actually. They asked him to come in a super low budget film, which is incredible place, which was the first and not only, but first film that was directed by Asian American women, written by Asian American women. And they asked him to come in and he played the storyteller, right? They used to play silent films and a storyteller would come in and speak the story to the truth. And that he came in to do that. And that, for me, like theatrical plays have been so much. You can actually find Flower Drum Song and an very old play, Pacific Overtures, on YouTube. If you look for them, then those they're all
Around the Hammerstein era,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, those the golden age era. By the way, I actually found a link that you're gonna be interested with about the timelines of Asian American in secret timeline of Asian American theater.
Oh, cool.
I'm currently viewing it right now, and I just found out that in 1903, a Broadway production of Onoto Watana's A Japanese Nightingale at Dallas Theater in was first placed on Broadway 1903, and he is the first Asian American author that got her work placed stage on Broadway.
Ooh. Yes, please link that. And can you DM me that? Because I can't see the links that are being posted at the top. So please do that. Bhavani?
Yeah, no, I found the last person I wanted to tell you guys
Yes.
about. Her name is Meryl Obiron.
Yes.
And she actually was with Laurence Olivier. I mean, she's acted with some of the biggest stars there are. And not even some bit parts. She actually had some huge parts, but she never admitted that she was South Asian until I think close to the end of her life. Uh, she did it in 1933. She began her career as Anne Boleyn in the private life of Henry Henry VIII. So I mean, here's a woman who, it wasn't okay to claim that what she was. So she continued her life, but I thought it was really interesting. She's acted, against people like Lucille Ball and Laurence Olivier. I just, she's one of the first, and nobody even knows about her.
Yeah, she's Sri Lankan, right?
I believe she is. I will tell you exactly.
I think we did a little club, a little post on her, and we did some history on her.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, I think
It's all South Asian. Yep.
Mhm.
She is Sri Lankan. Well, part of her lineage is Sri Lankan.
Right. I think she's mixed somewhere.
Yeah. No, she is absolutely. She has some British blood in her. That's why. So they were all called, for whatever reason, the whole region winded up using this term, which was Anglo-Indian. So basically, it was very interesting. These poor children who were the offsprings of either love or sadly rape would not be welcomed into either side of society. So they had to kind of forge their own kind of path through all of this.
Yeah. See, I think there's so much. There's just so much we don't know, and the history behind the people who still did their productions, right? And they still made it through. Yeah. They still beat all the odds, made the producers tell them what they wanted to do, and a lot of times they would be in the background, or they, like Anime Wong got replaced by a white woman, and she'd be yellow faced and put in the background. I just downloaded a whole bunch of movies from like the 40s, and like the Mr. Wong series, the Mr. Moto series, and the Charlie Chan series, all like white-faced movies that had Asians in the background, but like not as the lead characters. It's just it's nerve-wracking. It makes you mad.
I think the biggest case is Breakfast with Tiffany.
Yep.
I mean, which was, here was this movie that we all loved, and it took us a second because, you didn't realize it when you first watched. I mean, you knew it. You knew that this was something's off here, but no one said anything. No one said anything about these movies that you were just talking about. It was just okay. And it's not okay. Ever.
I feel like I definitely know that we believe that, and we see that, and we call it out all the time. I wonder how many people still think it's okay, and who think that this is my favorite movie. Yeah, he was the best part about that movie, or Getty Watanabe. He wasn't white, he wasn't white faced, but he made it a full stereotype. I think it's rough. What does that do to their careers? What does that do to everybody else? But I'm gonna invite Elise James on the stage now. How are you doing, Elise?
Hi, Masami. Good morning from South Korea.
Oh, good morning. Nice to have you here. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, we're doing just great. We kind of started 30 minutes. We're roughing it today. We're on the live. If you want to go to the live stream, no one's on the Instagram one, which is fine. But we're also doing a live stream with the video, and you can hear I should be able to hear the audio on Clubhouse, which is interesting. But yeah, do you? We're talking mostly about Asian American actors that from before the 2000s. I'm always looking for people who we just don't know about, because sometimes we hear about the people now today, and that's really great. Everybody's doing great work, but a lot of people paved the way, and I call them the strong Asian legacies, because they did it before we did, and they never got their chance. They never got their interviews, their documentaries, all that. But Elise, do you have any actors that you might know, Asian or Asian American? I try to focus on, I like to look at Asian American actors, because I feel like in South Korea, China, Japan, they all had film industries that are doing just fine with a lot of Asians. But the Asian Americans always had to face against white Hollywood. So I'm always focusing that. But
Yeah,
do you have any recommendations in people that we should be looking out for who just
I
made
actually raised my hand to share about a Korean American actress.
cool? Great.
So yes, so her name is Yin Jin Kim. I don't know
Yes.
if you have heard of her.
She was in Minotti, right?
In what? Sorry.
Minotti?
Not
Yin Jin Kim?
sure about it, but she was definitely in Lost, the American series. Yeah, it's a very old series.
I haven't
Um,
lost.
yeah, so she was born in Seoul, South Korea, but she moved to America when she was 10 years old, and basically lived there and studied acting there in US, and studied in UK too. But actually, when she was like trying to trying to act for Lost, because it was American series, she had a lot of visa problem, and because in Korea you cannot have double citizenship. You can only choose one citizenship, so she had to choose American citizenship in the end to be casted for that series. But she appeared as a Sun Park in that series, and she acted as one of the main characters until I think season 6 or 7. I don't exactly remember. And then after that, I think she also appeared in Mistress and from ABC as one of the main characters as well until season 4. And I think she also these days, I think she's more appearing in the Korean movies because I think maybe because of pandemic, but she definitely appeared in.
Oh, I think I got cut out.
She's more focusing on appearing in Korean movies, but I think it's because of pandemic. Maybe she's not getting much chances these days. But I think she, compared to what she has been doing, she's really a big deal from my perspective. But I think she's getting less attention that she, deserves. So I just want to share.
No, thank you for sharing. Can everybody hear me? I feel like I got kicked out.
Yeah, you were disconnected for a while.
Yeah,
You were gone and then you got back and then your mic's a bit low again.
I can't. Oh, input. We'll see. We're just gonna rough it. I don't know. I can't even see myself on there. That's the thing. But at least thank you so much. I did not know about that, and it's so fascinating to hear about the nationality and citizenship, because I think that's something that everybody, a lot of people deal with, and I don't have to deal with it. And that's not something, but I know it's really important. You have O1 visas and work visas and stuff like that, and so. Yeah, I hope that I've had a lot of friends have problems with that and just like I have to go back, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. So yeah, thank you for sharing that history, and I added it to my list because I think, again, we're looking at how Asian Americans and Asians have made it through the industry, have really, excuse me, went through a lot of hurdles to get to where they are now, because we see that there are so many issues of getting on stage, behind the screen, on the screen, all of it, and but people have done it before. So, and people who are trying to get up there now, it's like, how do we look at our legacies? How do we look at our people and say, oh, they did it? It's not, there's a lot of problems, but they did it. So we have to be able to say that we can do it too. And I find a lot of power in looking at the history and other people who have done things, to knowing that they're still here. They haven't died, and maybe I won't either. So always looking for and empowering people, and looking at how we can look at history to make something new. So I'm going to reset the room real quick. This is the Strong Asian League Club. We're also a nonprofit for Asian Americans in entertainment. We're trying to help Asian Americans get into Hollywood, break into Hollywood without breaking the bank, because there's so many ways that we can make it into Hollywood. But honestly, the diversity programs and screenwriting stuff, contests, you're not likely to get in. The percentages are so ridiculous and so ridiculously small. Like, we have to find different ways. There's got to be different ways. And I do have the story sensei method, which is something to think about as becoming the teacher about what you are, and they can't find they can't find anybody like you because you're the expert. And I think that's really valuable. And that's what's worked for me. I want to help other people do it. And that's what I want to do at Strong Asian Lead, to find what our power is. You can go to our current website. It's still our current website's there. It's in development. We're doing our membership platform. I just spoke with the developers, and that's still working on it too. But I'm excited to show what we have this year. But for right now, we're going to be on Clubhouse, our live streams. I'm just going to be talking. We have our podcast. A lot of times the podcast, not a lot of times, but some of the podcasts will just be some of the live streams recording here. I do solely live streams on Mondays and Wednesdays. Clubhouse is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, all at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And we'll be doing a couple hours. Tonight might just be a little slow because I'm having technical issues. I need a new computer. But we do want to join the conversation. We want people to talk and speak up on stage. I don't want this to be a one-way conversation. I don't want this to be just me on a podcast talking with friends and people and just doing one-on-one interviews. I want this to be a conversation. I do have a lot of speaking abilities, but I do want people to join the stage, join the Clubhouse. And when we have the platform ready to go, people can add links, add resources, and people can share and find that things way better than Facebook. Just trust me. So without any case, if anybody from the audience wants to come up to stage and share a name, ask questions, or just to be part of the conversation, and if you just want to come up to stage to listen in, it helps our Clubhouse algorithm, because when you're speaking, people see that you're speaking and it moves up there. So that's really great too. You can just sit in and stay, but no worries if not. I don't know how it all works. I just know some things. But for now, if anybody have another name they'd like to share, or somebody that they even just a movie that you like, or a theatrical thing, you're like, you should check out these things because there are some people here. Any takers before I keep talking? Can anybody hear me? Am I still alive?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
I'm just looking for more names to also put out there.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
No, because I also the link that I sent to, I also posted it up here. So that's what the reference I'm also using, the timeline. Yeah, because there's a lot of Asian Americans before 2000s that has happened, and in that timeline that I posted also somehow shines the Asian American history. So it's amazing to also see that somehow our literature also shapes our history. So apart from our actors who became the vessel who tells these stories, we also have playwrights. We have a lot more people on the background who also contributes in that one. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and the playwrights are really important too, because as I go through the history, you think about how many plays have been put on, because plays don't need Hollywood money, they do it themselves. And so when you have a playwright coming in to do a show all about Asian American story, they have all Asian American actors coming in, and they're incredible. A lot of things you can actually find on archive.org. And so one of my favorites is 121A. They've done many productions. It's by Yamamoto. I'm forgetting her name. It's about the Japanese, one of the many plays about the Japanese American incarceration of World War II. And it's just beautifully done. Some vivid characters in there. It's a very mentally challenged character, which you don't see on TV very often, or movies or anything like that. But to have this character come in and play a role that looks, very similar to my own uncle, it just, it hits hard. It hits home when you watch it. It's just like a one camera VHS recording. Its audio is terrible. You start to see that the Asian American actors are just going to be really well done, but the story in itself hits home a lot harder than if another white person wrote the show and they put Asians in the plays. And I think that's it's been done before. Most people call out Flower Drum Song because it's Rodgers and Hammerstein, but actually the book, the original story was by C.Y. Lee. And so even some of the actors like Nancy Kwan, they're like, didn't feel racist to me because it was still the story of what had happened, and it was so touching. The music, might be written, the lyrics might be written, but the whole story in itself was more valuable. And there's also really great plays that have been turned into movies or made for TV dramas. Farewell to Manzanar was based off a book about the Manzanar. There was also Gold Watch was amazing, which was based on a play. Mako played an amazing role. You can watch that on Vimeo. That was produced by or was archived with UCLA people. You have people like Nobu McCarthy, who was on there, and she's been in so many plays and movies. And Robert Ito, who's, again, all these people who just names that you don't recognize very often. But if I talk to anybody who's over the age of like 40 or 50, they're like, oh yeah, I've watched Robert, I've watched Mako, and a lot of my family, like, oh yeah, your uncle knew him. Like, they all know him because they were all together. The community is so small that they all know each other. But we, at our generation, my generation at least, I'm about 28, so anybody's between 30 and below. We don't really know their names. We don't recognize them, and we don't see them like we do, Harrison Ford, right, or or Leonardo DiCaprio. And we just see them all the time. We know their names, they're household names. But where are these Asian Americans who really paved the way for us? And how are we honoring them and thanking them for what they did? I think it's so important that we do that. Even some people like. You can just go to like All American Girl, right? If the TV show from the 1995, which was Margaret Cho's show, and it was critically taken off air after the first season. The Asian American community did not support it for a lot of different reasons. But if you actually watch it today and you take apart, like if you just watch it just to have fun, it's actually a funny show. My grandma was like, it's so much better than Fresh Off the Boat. And I think it's hilarious because it's like a 90s sitcom. And their first house is actually in the Boy Meets World set, which is hilarious. But they moved out. But you see like people like Jodie Long, who was in, tons of other films, and even in Shang-Chi this past couple years. Margaret Cho, B.D. Wong, Clyde Kutsatsu, Amy Hill. My uncle was in there again. Like, he's everywhere. And there are all these great names that we haven't watched them. Like we don't see them in our canon. Like, how many people have actually watched the whole series of All American Girl? And they can tell me that their last episode was some other white dudes who we've seen their names before. I don't even know their names. So I don't care, but I've seen them, and that's one of the reasons why I think the show failed. But like people like Amy Hill, who's been around for a long, long time, has just been, incredible. And she's still doing work today. I see Mark has a bubble. Mark, are you on stage? I invited you to stage a long time. I can't tell.
He's not, but I'm inviting him right now.
Oh, okay. I just see a bubble on his thing. I was like, okay, is he speaking or not?
You know what? You mentioned Mako.
Yeah.
I was just like also scanning through an Asian American playwright, which is David Henry Huang.
Mm-hmm.
People sleep on our Asian American playwrights because it ended up on a play called Fob. Yes. And we all know what that is. Yeah. And it is a 1980 Obie Award winning play by American player, because you mentioned Mako. We also it's only a 3-person play with originally it's actually directed by Mako, with John Lone and Chima in the cast. So it's amazing show that was done off Broadway. That's also supported by Joe Papp at the Public Theater.
Mm-hmm.
So it has not been on Broadway yet, but there's a lot of materials that are being brought from different parts of the world, different theaters, like the East West Players, who's also the biggest and oldest Asian American theater company, who I believe is based in LA, right?
Yes. Yeah, in little Tokyo.
Yeah. Yeah, so East West Players also has produced that and brought it to the Public Theater, and has run off Broadway and was later revived in 1990. So there's a lot of materials that we, as also people in the entertainment world, have to dive into in order for us to resource it. Because you said earlier, there's very small community of Asian American creatives in general, not just actors. So we have directors, we have playwrights, and we have a lot more Asian Americans and Asians in general in our community, both in the theater world, film, and TV, and they're just we are normally as our air quoting culture, we just bow down and do the work. And these people deserve more praise and more acknowledgement, because if it weren't for them, like you said, Mass, we don't have a lot of thing. Our floodgates would not be opened, and a lot of us are trying to break into the industry or are in the industry right now.
100%. Like that's the whole. If they didn't start it for us, we wouldn't have that here. And you know, I feel like the theatrical world is definitely more connected with themselves. They aren't really know each other. I've connected with East West Players. There's the Asian American Playhouse in San Francisco. There was the Slanted Theater in New York, and I think it was in Chinatown. I don't know if they're kind of still around, kind of not. Perry Young's there. San Diego has
I think so.
I think so.
I have to check.
I think they're like in and out. I think they're just like really small, but there's another one that was there too.
Oh, it's Mae Theater, I think. The one
yes.
you're talking about.
Well, there's that one.
Mae Theater is very active here in New York.
Yeah, there is the Mae Theater, but there used to also be the Slanted Theater. There's actually, you can look at pictures. If anybody's friends with Perry Young, or I think there's somebody else on Facebook, he always posts old photos. I'm like, oh my God, they did plays of David Henry Hwang. Yeah, it's all this stuff like that. Like learning that history is so incredible. And I have tons of different lists, but one of this lists I'm looking at in front of me is like 155 different links and organizations of Asian Americans and BIPOC. But I have another one just in front of me right now is like 43 different ones. I have like 33 film festivals just all in America. I think the community it's not small, but it's tight. But at the same time, the previous generation really knows themselves and they know each other. But I feel like our generation, we're starting to get to know each other, but we're so separated by city, by ethnicities, by forms of acting and directing and playwriting. But even then, like screenwriters, I feel like as a screenwriter myself, like everybody's just like fighting for the next job. Like there's not going to be another job, and there kind of isn't. But at the same time, like we're not connected. We're like in competition. I don't like that feeling. I feel like that's what's happening all the time. And there's just not enough. For Hollywood, there's not enough jobs they're going to give us. They don't believe in us. And working together, we don't have enough money to make our own productions. I know friends who just like, I need a job. I need money. I personally need money because I've been doing this in Strong Asian Lead for almost 2 years now. I've been on my own now, and I'm like dying doing this, but we need our grants, but I'm not able to make my own films. I'm not able to spend time to even do my own screenwriting projects. I have to have another job just to support myself in life. And so, I know as those actors who are doing the same thing have to have other jobs. And what I want for our community is to, in the bigger picture, not even just like what I want to do right now, but what I want for us is stardom. Like, we only know a few stars. Again, you had that survey that came out last year that was like 42% of Americans, non-Asian Americans, can't name one Asian American. 11% said Jackie Chan. 7% said Bruce Lee. 5% said Kamala Harris. 2% said Connie Chung. Another 2%, I think the other 2% was Kamala Harris. And like that's just stupid, right? I say Pat Morita to friends all the time because it's just like an easy one for people to get, and they're like, who's that? I'm like, it's Mr. Miyagi. Like, you know that name, but you don't know Pat Morita. Like, Pat Morita literally has his own TV show in the 1970s. I think it's 1976, called O'Hara. And he was the lead character. It was his show. I haven't seen it. I have 18 or 28 of the episodes. I'm missing 2 because they didn't record it. But like the distribution company doesn't really have it out anymore. They don't have it on DVD. It's not on VHS. Someone was very thoughtful and recorded it while it was playing. So they missed the first and the last episode, which sucks. But like that's how important our community is. Like he had his own TV show and we don't know about it. You know, he was on Happy Days. He was on the other show. He actually left. Yeah. He left Happy Days because he was going to do on that same show. He was Arnold on Happy Days, and he left to go to do Mr. T and Tina, which was like a 6-episode shoot that he had his own show. He was like a detective with another Tina youngster, and it failed. They only aired 4 episodes. They shot 6, aired 4. They canceled it, and I can't find it anywhere. It sucks. I really want to watch it. There's always stuff like that are hiding around. I find new things all the time. And even going back to the plays, like there's so many plays. If anybody knows Frank Chin is an incredible man. He's still alive. That's how young we still are. Like he's still alive. He grew up in all this in the theater company. He grew up in New York, Chinatown. You can watch Chinaman's Chance online. It's a documentary that he did about Chinatown and how crazy it was. He did Chinaman's that was called Chinaman's Chance. He had another play called Chinaman Coop. He did another play called Year of the Dragon, which was recorded on a live stage, like a film. It wasn't a theater. It was a theatrical play, but they made it into a film called Year of the Dragon, 1975. George Takei is the main actor, and I still believe it's his biggest and broadest role. He's so big in this role. He's usually subtle and kind of quiet and just kind of the George Takei kind of guy. But in this one, he's so big and angry and mean, and it's so different than his other roles. As much as the movie itself is like so fast, it's hard to understand. It's so important to watch what he had done, because you see him as a Japanese American playing in a Chinese family, and you wouldn't really think about it. Like, can we get to that point? Even, look at Kim's Convenience. Simu Liu is not Korean, but can we just disbelief, right? That's what films are for. That's what entertainment's for. It's a sense of disbelief for the sake of the story. And when we start to see more, like what I had done years ago, I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, I told myself I need to change my algorithm and what I'm watching, because I'm only able to watch white people shows and some black shows, and I can't some Latinx shows, but you can't find the Asian American shows because you can only find Asian shows. So I had to dive far and everywhere to go find something different. And when you dig far enough, there's gold mines everywhere. Anything from like Hang Ten with Dante Bosco, which is one of his earlier films. And the debut is the first Filipino American film about having these things. It's just I still haven't watched it. I got to watch that one, but there's just so much that we haven't seen. And when you look at it, you watch it, you start to just feel something different. And then you start to get mad that you haven't seen these films, that no one's talking about them. At least I did. I get mad. I get like why no one's watching this? And so this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why I speak so much about it. So, please cut me off.
Mas, I think what you said as well. There's a lot of gold mines about different amazing material, especially in the film world, because that's much more accessible compared into theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe I think it also reflects on us on how are we consume media and where are we getting them. Especially, there's a lot more materials beyond mainstream media in Hollywood that Hollywood is actually producing, right? And there's a lot of these materials that coming from our mother region in Asia that are being acknowledged outside of the region, that we should also support, that they're trying to also break in and also showcase here in the main media market, trying to break in the main media market, such as different festivals like the Cannes, Venice Film Festival, Chelsea Film Festival, or the New York Tribeca Film Festival, or TIFF. There's a lot of them that we should also try and support, because again, it just showcases, it just goes back to the fact that our industry is show business. It's still business. We have to make money. We have to put our money where our mouth is. And in order for us to also campaign and do that, we should also not just like watch these shows or patronize these shows. We should also know like the history and the things behind on how these shows came about. Like, because um I think our generation right now, because you and I are like the same age mass, and I believe a lot of people are in this room or in our age range, in our age group, um, are already slowly looking far more detailed, not just beyond the facade and what is being given to them on the final edited product. So I think it's also we have to also start cultivating that culture in knowing more about what have these people done, what else have they done, how did this came about, because it's also a form of educating not ourselves but also the targeted audience, and also to look forward to what else can we expect, and what else can we fish out on these kinds of materials? What else can we do about it? You know what I mean?
100%. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, exactly. I think there's so much to learn for ourselves that if you're not already studying it, you don't know how to express it. Like that's the thing. If someone asked you, like, what's your favorite films, you're probably most people will probably say something within the last 5 to 10 years. They might even say something on YouTube that they watched, the Wong Fu or somebody else. So it's to think about like what's so much more than just the martial arts films or even contemporary. Because once you go down a rabbit hole, because so many people who are not Asian at all, you can see people like look at Squid Games and all these films and K dramas that people just dive and find more, and they're like, did you watch this one? I'm like, no. And they'll find things that I haven't watched or other people haven't watched, and I think am I gone again? Oh no. No. Tell me when I'm back on again. This is crazy. I'm so mad. I'm not going to do this again because it's not working. I hope somebody's talking. Francis, please hold it down. I wonder if I can, what can I turn off? Guess this YouTube. Anybody on the live stream, like, yeah, thanks for bearing with me. I think it's cool. I hope you're enjoying it. It's fun. It's fun to do this stuff and have these conversations. I am doing it as much as I can. Let's see. Was ping sent? Okay, that's fine. You can send the ping. Let me back in. Am I back on? Anybody? Can anybody hear me? No. Shut up. Failed to ping user. Fuck you. Yeah, whatever.
I would personally argue, and I dare would say, Thai, Korea, and Japan has the best horror films ever in the world. And I'm gonna die on my grave fighting for that one. Like, people are gonna talk about horror films. I don't fucking care about you. Go to watch Thai, Korean, and Japanese films for horror films, and let me tell you that that's horror, not what Americans would call horror, because that's way more better films than the ones that we are actually seeing as tagged as horror. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, definitely. We really take it to next level.
Yeah, I hear a lot about horror. I'm not a huge horror fan, but I love that. I feel like people do take a lot from that because it's so different. You don't expect things, different symbolism. I think that's a part of it too. Different ways of filmmaking and styles. I love that, and it's very creative in itself.
Yeah, because I also, when you were gone, Mass, I was just like saying, like, Parasite started as an independent feature that was been shopped towards different film festivals, and then it became a thing here in America, right? Because like that's what I was saying earlier when you were gone, is that I think we should also start not patronizing these materials coming from our mother region and bring them here as a community, as an Asian community, as a big diaspora community, in order for us to also dive in and stem in. Because I remember I read an article that when Parasite swept the Oscars, Hollywood wanted to make their own American version of it. I was like, no,
No,
no, no, that's not the intention. So I think for us as well is that we also have to stand ground on how we control these materials. What is the intention, and on how are we marketing on this one? Because producers in Hollywood only think about money, right? Yes,
Mm-hmm.
because they're the ones spending everything on it. But
Mm-hmm.
we also have to like hold our integrity, and there is still like this fine line on how we hold the value on marking a hard line on balancing the integrity of the material and the monetary value of the material. So I think there's a big um discussion around that still.
But also, I just wanted to add that I think I understand that we were talking about like before the 2000s, but I just wanted to add that right now we see the bit of shift because there's been investment, I'm guessing, from like China and all that. So, um, well, I don't want to put like politics in it, but you know, like it's in a way it's a positive look into things because, well, if you have investment from China, they do expect like they want to put their own actors in some of the big Hollywood movies that they are funding, and in a way, it's a positive light for Asian actors to be part of this, you know, and not just all the typical white Asian cast. There'll be like, you know, people of color and all that.
Yeah, I think these are great points to add in because I think there's so much that Asia and foreign countries are doing very well, and then Hollywood wants to go and say, "Oh, they're doing it really well. Let's take that. Let's take that idea." Like the whole thing with the train to Busan. I think they're trying to do like a train to New York or something like that. I'm like, why? I mean,
Hell no! Are you serious?
I know they're doing something. I don't know if think it's New York, but they're definitely trying to make it an American version of it. I've seen that.
Train
for
to
years.
New York. What is this? A fucking MTA or a fucking subway?
That would be hilarious.
Well, like I'm coming from Connecticut down to the city. Hell no. Or coming from Albany going down here to New York City. What the fuck is that?
The American version. I'm gonna find it out because I know they've been talking about it for years, and people. Yeah, it's called The Last Train to New York, a remake of a popular South Korean zombie movie. Yep.
Wait,
oh my god!
are they already in the making, or it's just a thought?
No, I'm pretty sure.
It's already in pre-production, right?
It's in development at least. I don't think they're in
Oh,
production.
it's development.
with it. But people are like they've been talking about it for years, and they released this article in November, like of this year, of last year, and so it's been there. It's been in the works, so I know people are trying to do it, and I'm just like, don't do that. Why? At the very see, my thing is that you don't need to do it. The thing that for me, and I know this is definitely it's controversial, but it's for me, they don't need to do that. All they need to really do is just dub things. Right, as much as the biggest thing for Americans, and I just know there's a demographic community, and I'm a little bit of a part of that community, is that people don't want to read subtitles, and I know that's kind of stupid. I know people just listen to the language, learn the language, or just like get past the one inch subtitles, which Bong Joon-ho said. But at the same time, I don't necessarily want to read my movies. I look at the actor's eyes. I look at the edits. I look at that, and I can't go back up and down. I don't want to. My eyes get more tired doing that. And filmmaking is a very specific way to, like editing. You look for the eye cuts, and you're going back and forth for a specific reason, and you're looking at emotions. And I know, again, subtitles is this whole thing, but there's also a part of the demographic who literally won't watch movies because there's subtitles. And if you just take the time and put the extra effort, like I think it's like $2,000 or whatever it might be it's not just 2,000, I'm sure it's not, but to add in English dub versions, or just generally dub versions of a lot of languages, one, you're gonna get a lot of audience who can watch the movie or put it on the background and just watch quote unquote watch it while they're doing multitasking. So one, they're getting their views. So what's the point? What's the problem? And second, it's also language. It's part of language justice and accessibility. Some people can't read. Some people are dyslexic. There's an old 20,000 Hertz thing about subtitles and dubbing, and he was like, "I'm the voiceover for Optimus Prime India," and one of the reasons why he is because a lot of people in India can't read. They're illiterate. They don't read. So it's important for those dubbings to have them there because then it's accessible to them. Like that part of that just makes sense, right? And one of the reasons why Squid Games did so well is because it was dubbed, right? So many people could just watch it either passively or actively and be more connected and watch it. So there is just that, and that's the same. It's the same case situation for Money Heist. They dubbed it in so many different languages that so many other people could do it. Subtitles, again, it's the same thing. If you're a Chinese woman in America or any other place and you just get English subtitles, that doesn't work. It's not going to hit that community. So especially with Asian shows and anything that has any quote unquote foreign language. Having so many other languages adapted, it just makes it more accessible for people to watch it, enjoy it without having to do that extra reading. And so I think it does an extra service to a community. It doesn't mean it's the right thing. It doesn't mean it's the greatest thing. But you know what? It makes it more accessible to other people. But I do see that Mark is up on stage. I want to give him a little chance to chime in since he's new.
Hi, neighbor.
Yes. Hi, Francis. I wonder when we're gonna actually meet up. Anyways, Moss, when you said about accessibility, that's when I popped in, because yeah, subtitles definitely is that weird subject. However, I feel it's important to have, whether or not it is there. Because I'm someone who recently got a disability to where I'm losing my hearing, and so I actually do need the subtitles to be able to pay attention more than when I can hear, because it gets difficult for me to try and understand things. And so having the subtitles is super important for me. And just, did I miss something from what was going on the screen? Like, I can easily quick read it, and that for me personally is super helpful. But also that gets into, also for the community that we're not even thinking of, there are those who are not only hard of hearing but are also deaf, that do want to also experience the same thing that those of hearing can experience while being in the theaters or while watching at home, to be able to interact with those, to be able to respond to things of like pop culture or whatnot. 100%. And I'm done speaking.
Actually, just it's quite interesting when we're talking about like subtitles and stuff, because I'm not American. I don't reside in America, so most movies that I watch, subtitles is there, and I think I have grown to, like, I cannot watch a movie that's, I mean, it's okay if dubbing for me, but it's just a bit strange that I know, like, let's say if I'm watching Train to Busan and someone that's speaking sounds American to me, I would rather hear it in Korean even though I don't understand. But I'll just read the subtitles. Same with Money Heist. I think there's one time that I accidentally clicked dub, and I was like, wait, like it's just so bizarre. Knowing that it's in Spanish, but they were speaking American. So I'm all up for subtitles, but if dubbing is what you're into, I'm also like good with it, and I think it's like people shouldn't think that that's like that stops them from watching a series. Like, it's okay, if you want to understand it, you want to hear dubbing, go ahead. If not, just read the subtitles. It's not a challenge, and I find that when going back to what Francis said, when Parasite first came out, I know like there are people who saying that they won't watch it because of the whole subtitle thing, and I'm like, but it's like, it's not hard science. Like, it's just reading.
Oh, 100%. People, we should always have subtitles. Like, that should always like be a standard, because I think no matter if you're hard of hearing or you just need to read, like my dad just can't read it, or you want to go back, you need, like, sometimes it's it's a mumble, and like, what are they saying? And so that's I'm not even arguing like we don't need subtitles. What I'm arguing for is that there should always also be a dub, right? It's not that you have to only have the dub or that's the only version of it, but like there's just people who just won't do it, even for me, like anime, you can't really see the difference. Hey Bhavani, if you no worries, thank you. If you're watching, for me, I'm watching anime, but sometimes like the cuts as a filmmaker, the cuts with anime is so quick. If you miss something, you're not focused on it, you're gonna miss it. Like, you're gonna miss a joke, you're gonna miss something visual, because sometimes the framing for animation is even faster than film. Sometimes in film you need like 6 frames. In animation you only need 1, because you can just see it so fast, and if your eyes aren't like watching it, you're gonna miss it. So it's like we need both, because I think it's accessibility, and at the same time, again, there's a whole community. I know friends who just like, I won't watch it, like subtitles. I'm like, okay, fine. You don't want to do that. That's fine. But if we're gonna make that community, now that like we have Netflix, if it was, before Netflix and Hulu and the internet, age of the internet, because we couldn't like change subtitles, we couldn't change those things. You could only have one or the other. You could have it with or without, and that was kind of it. But now that we have YouTube and Netflix, they can have different languages and different tracks, and you can pick them. That's like a use case. Like, you can do that. Why not add that in? Yeah, it might cost extra money, and I can see that being a benefactor, but at the same time, you might get that return on investment because more people are going to watch it just because they don't want to do that. I'll be honest, I don't care. I watch it with dubbed, and I know sometimes I watch it with dubbed and the subtitles. I'm like, it's kind of off, but not off. But at the same time, like, maybe I'm doing dishes. Maybe I'm doing some other work. And you know what? They're getting my views. Like, so it's like almost like, why not? But I totally understand the agreement and it's not an argument. I just think there's room for both. Like, that's how I see it. And cool topic that we just get to hear. So, but I do, for the people in the room, I do kind of want to move us back a little bit into back to our original topic. And even if we go back to theater, like theater, a lot of times, it's only one language. You don't even get subtitles. So I'm always like, how do we even add that? How do we add that there? So I know I haven't seen it. I don't know how it's done in theaters. I know they always have like closed caption options and other accessibility options in movie theaters, and I've never seen it done. I've never been around somebody who gets to use it, but I think that's always that's another more conversations anyways. But I'm going to reset the room real quick. We've been talking about subtitles in foreign language films, but the main topic was famous Asian American actors you need to know, because there's so many people we don't know our history, we don't know our people, the community who paved the road for us as Asian Americans, as actors and theaters, writers, directors, but also just in general. If we didn't have Asian Americans on stage and film showing other audiences who are not Asian that we're one people who are human, that we have fears and wants and needs, goals, and just love, we wouldn't have that. We wouldn't even be where we're at today, even just as troublesome as it is today. We wouldn't be where we're at now if we didn't have them. And so I think it's so important to look at our legacies and ask, how are we honoring them? How are we looking at them? How are we sharing their movies, watching them, consuming them, and just paying like respects and knowing what their names are? So there's so many names. I wish we had I wish Clubhouse was a little better, like running a list of things that we're talking about. But yeah, I think if you want to come to the stage, please feel free to join. It's nice that we have about 10 people here right now. It's been a nice little room.
Can I segue what I call this? AAPI actors as well, but because we're talking about disability and accessibility, I don't know if you guys remember, there is an Asian American trans actor. I think it was the first Asian American trans actor that was cast in a superhero series. I'm actually looking for it. I remember I saw that an article about it because I saw a video of Niall DeMarco talking, having a conversation with them on a YouTube video. So I'm trying to recall because I believe it.
Chella Man or Chella Man?
Yeah, I think it's Chella. Yeah. So I mean, look at that. Like having these kinds of actors that also have to like recognize and also support, because there's a vast representation needed within our community is as an Asian community and Asian American community in general as well. So there's that alone. There's different facets in our community that needed to um for us to know, because there's beyond that. Like I remember, I'm just gonna segue this as well. Another segue outside
Go ahead.
On a new film, which is Wicked, which is a big musical on Broadway being turned into a movie, which is a big discussion for theater nerds, because how are you going to put that into a movie? Because that's a big show, wherein they cast Cynthia Erivo, a black actress, as Elphaba, and Ariana Grande as Glinda. And if you know the show, there is a character there that is wheelchair bound. called Nessa Rose. People are saying, "Oh yeah, Ali Stroker." Heck, Ali Stroker was in the Glee project, and she won a Tony in Oklahoma on the latest revival of Oklahoma, and she's doing the show on wheelchair. So she's not the only wheelchair bound actor that there is. So with regards of um, disability and accessibility, we have to look beyond that because they're not just the only people who can represent that. Like there's back in the day, Bruce Lee is not the only uh, Asian actor who can fight. Jackie Chan isn't the only Asian actor who can fight, and the problem is that they're pinning them against each other. So there's a lot more for us to know and figure out and find for us to transcend beyond that. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm in total agreement. There's so much that there's just so many people we don't know, and there's so many people who don't given chances or recognition. And that we keep going back to the same people and we using them over and over again because they're known to even to a specific community. Because they're gonna, like name recognition. That's even why I think we talked about yesterday. Is just being how well people are known and valued. But as we're talking about the disability community, like the disability community is just a little over twice the percentage demographic of Asian Americans, and yet we don't see a lot of films or movies about it, right? Disability community is like 14% of the population. Asian Americans are 6.5. So where are all those films? Where just even, and there's multiple different types of disabilities, and you can have mental, physical, emotional, all these things, but at the same time, we don't see even a percentage of population. I think it's actually less population of films and TV and content about disabilities than we do about Asian Americans. So it's like there's so much that we're not seeing. Even the MENA community, the Middle Eastern North African community, has like 2% of screen time. It's a lot less. It's a lot of crazy percentages that are lacking in the representation community. And like who are the legacies who paved the way for us now, and how are we looking to them for advice and to looking for them for just for inspiration, but what are we going to do to remember them? And I think I was looking up, Mark, did you want to say something?
No, finish your thought.
I was reading about Anime Wong and someone else. I'm forgetting the name. It's in my book, and I probably should look it up again. But only a couple of Asian Americans have gotten a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. More coming up soon is James Hong's Hollywood star, which I found out it's not about how famous you are to get on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's almost how much money you have. It's $50,000 to get a star on the Walk of Fame, but you don't have to. That's just, I'm sure that's just the star, right? That's not the party. That's not the press. That's not getting everybody out there. There's only been a few people out there, and I know there's a few more fighting for this. I won't say names, but there are a few people who are still getting there. But I'm like, why don't every community doesn't have their own Walk of Fames in their own communities, right? Like we should be able to see here's the stars or whatever shape you want to make them in Little Tokyo, right? That's the biggest thing for like theater and stuff. So near East West Players, like a whole Walk of Fame of all these Asian American actors who on the sidewalk who should just be there. I think that would be incredible. I think it'd be great for like a Black community to have in like Lamont Park and just be the actors who came before us, and like it's a new place, but at the same time, where else are they going to be recognized? Because it's so hard. It's so hard to get into the Hollywood space, Hollywood Walk of Fame. We should just build our own. Again, for me, it's like build our own Hollywood. We don't need regular Hollywood. We might need their money, might want to work with them, and it's always helpful and nice to do that. But if we're going to want to do it ourselves, we want to do it the way we want to do it, we're going to have to do something else than waiting for them and letting them tell us when we can and cannot do something. So I think it's just, I don't know. I'm looking forward to the future, the next even just five years from now, seeing where we're at. But 20 years from now, what are we going to do? But I think it's important that we start thinking about it today and how we're going to change something. So yeah, I'm gonna stop. I'm getting really hungry. I didn't eat dinner yet. So please join us on stage, or anybody else already on stage to chime in. And yeah, I'm curious about new ideas and what we're excited about, or share new names. Mark?
Thanks, boss. So one thing that I know I'm doing to really, with this topic of famous AAPI actors we need to know, is I finally got to establish a scholarship for API students in theater. And one of the questions I had to fight for to get put on there was, tell me an artist, uh, and we had to change it from, because I wanted it specifically for my scholarship, but we had to broaden it. But just really ask, like, tell me someone who is BIPOC that you aspire to be, like, that inspires you to go into the field of theater. And the reason why I had to fight for it to even be on there was that they were just not sure that the question would have been relevant enough, or that it was really needed. And I had to tell them, like, point blank, like, this is actually going to help you more than it's going to help them, in ways of, like, getting recruitment as well as funding. Like, yes, the student's going to know who inspires them, but it's also going to be even more impactful if that student's person that inspired them to go into the field actually gets to present the awards to them. Like, heck, I'm just the namesake of making the scholarship, but I'm like, if I could actually get somebody that they're inspired by, like, if I could get, like, Perry to present the award because they were inspired by his performance, or if I could get, the stage manager Cherry, that's on Broadway for Hadestown, to present the award.
Shuri,
Like, Shuri, yes, thank you, Shuri. I'm like,
she's
I knew
in
I butchered that.
slave play right now.
Oh, she's in Slave Play now. Okay, because
Yeah,
I know
she's
she was a
hosting slave
Hades for
play.
a second, but now she's in Slave Play. But yeah, again, those, because I feel like the next generation are so on the pulse of, like, knowing, like, hey, I know who I am and I know who I need to start looking up to where they're actually putting in the work of figuring out, like, who inspires them or what's been going on, rather than knowing, like, oh, like, my generation or our generation of, like, oh, we've only seen so many, like, white people, and we haven't been really getting to recognize our fellow API compadres in the field, to where it's like, now it's like, yes, this is what's going to happen. And I definitely hope that with my having to ask that question for the students, that it really just brings more discussion and more, like, options of, like, cool, I can I'm going to learn something from these students. So, like, great, I'm understanding, like, who they're inspired by. And then if I actually know them, I'm going to be like, hey, this is what a student wrote about how they inspired you, or, like, how they're inspired by you. Like, and so it just makes it a win-win rather than a kind of like a win-lose or a lose-lose situation. And I'm done speaking.
That's incredible. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I
Yes.
can't see if my mute's on or not. No, Mark, thank you so much for sharing that, because I think it's sharing that and promoting and fighting for that, because I think it's so important. Hey, Michael, it's so important that we're recognizing those names. But yeah, you're right. If the students can teach the teachers in this school a lot more. Even now, it's like a lot more than they're going to teach us, and you can learn new cultures and new people. And if we just said actors, they might just get the same actors they get all the time, because they're always on screen. They're almost always in the in the vernacular, in the space. They're always putting out a new movie. But saying something very specific about BIPOC, like, one, we're raising the BIPOC community up to then be on stage and be remembered, honored, even just a special guest, and it makes them feel good. But also, it's a time to say you did really amazing, incredible work, and somebody was inspired by you. So I think that's just thank you for doing that work. That's really important. Okay, I'm losing steam here. I might do 30 minutes. I might only do 15. So, yeah, I think this has been a really great conversation, and talking about what we're gonna do, who we're honoring. Because I think as much as we're still struggling for ourselves today, we are, other people have struggled before, and they've been doing it for decades. They've been doing it hard, and we don't know their names. We would hope. I think the most thing we can hope right now is that we can get as just a smidge of what they've done, right? A smidge of being able to say they had a long career, a working career. They've been working actors. I know a lot of actors who are like in their 80s now, and they're still just working. Right? They're just background. They're just kind of not even extras, but one line here, two lines there, and I'm like, wow, you have such a legacy to us, and you've been working for so long. Why don't you get bigger roles? And we can hope. We're lucky because we're probably going to get bigger roles than they are right at this point, but we wouldn't get these roles without them. And I think it's really important that we think about these people, know their names, look at them, and respect them, and then uplift them when we can. We're trying to put on an event in the next couple of months, the next quarter, to say to do something like that. And I hope that we can put it together. We're kind of working with a couple other bigger name Asian American brands, and it'll be really great to see that if we can invite them in, fly them out, or just bring them and have a panel, have a play their movie, play something with them, because I think it's a moment that we can share and say, hey, you've done a lot of work. You've broken barriers. You've made it something that you probably didn't think you could do. Maybe no one believed in you. Maybe your parents didn't believe in you. Hollywood probably didn't. They probably whitewashed you a whole bunch of times. But you're here. You inspire us, and even if if you're not living large, we respect you. And I think that's something we can do. We can do. We don't have to wait for somebody else to do that. We can do that ourselves. We can do that individually. And at the very least, we can do that individually and respecting their work and their time and their careers by watching their movies. But we have to know their names first. We have to know what movies they've done. How many movies they've done. I don't expect anybody they've done 100 movies or 60 movies or know the numbers, but just look at their career and see how many you can find. Like, it's almost like trading cards. Like, how many movies of them can you watch? How many things can you remember? I even, again, my uncle Sabu Shimono, I've seen a lot of his films, a lot of his movies, and I still find new ones. I find new ones all the time. My aunt yesterday, she was like, at New Year's, she's like, oh yeah, I just watched the X-Files show with Uncle. I'm like, he was on X-Files? Like, that's pretty cool. And yet I'm like, okay, where's that episode? I'm going to go watch it because I think that's incredible. But I look at other episodes, I've been looking up Philip On a while, and I'm like, I haven't watched a lot of it, but I'm going to watch their movies. And Tamlin Tomita, a lot of people know her from The Karate Kid 2, but I know her from Picture Bride and Come See the Paradise, which again, my uncle was in that one, and even in Awesome Asian Bad Guys, it was a shitty B movie, but it's still fun. There's always these things that we can watch and just remember them and think about how they inspire us, because they've been working for so long, and I hope that they're doing great, and I hope they feel like they've been successful. And if they haven't, I want to share with them that they've inspired me, and they've inspired so many other people. And I hope that people can just know their names, at the very least, know their names, because names can last on for a long time. And I hope that there's a book about them, a biography. Like I'm reading the Philip On biography, and I would want someone doing for my uncle or all these other actors, because I want to know about their lives, how they grew up, how they got started, what their failures were, what their successes were, how they had to overcome barriers, because we're going through them today, and I'm sure it's not as hard it was for them back then. So, and they had a community, but it was even smaller. Philip On, I was reading today, he wasn't on the first. He didn't get into Hollywood because got into Hollywood. He actually got into Hollywood because Anna Mae Wong was his neighbor, and she had bought a car, but she couldn't drive. But he could drive. So he would drive her to the studio set, and then he would go to the school, library. He went somewhere. He'd go to this movie set and pick her up. And one day he was on set on the car, and someone said, the director has come over and said, "Hey, you want to be on a film? You look really good. You should be on a film." And they brought him in, and he ended up not doing it, mainly because his mother disapproved of it. They didn't think it was a career. Back then, it was, again, And it's not like, you don't be an artist, be something else, be a lawyer or something, be something quote unquote respectable. He went on another film set, and later on, huge crowd. Mae West was there, and she saw him, and she was kind of eyeing him over and calling him over, and he looked behind him like, you're not calling me, right? You can't be calling me. So he started walking away, and then her bodyguard stopped him and said, Miss West would like to speak with you. And she brought him over. He said, you have a really good look. You want to be an actor? And he's like, nah, I don't do a thing. And he was actually, maybe he was already working at the time, because he said, the book said he was already making $100 a week. And he's like, how much are you making? And he said $100. She's like, pay the man $250 a week. So she raised his prices. I think that's so, I just think it's amazing. So you don't hear stories like that, but I think, it paints a big picture that he didn't even believe in himself, but that he did. And here is the quote. I was here, Philip on. I was walking across the studio lot, and I saw a large limousine with a lot of people milling around it. I saw Mae West there, and she was beckoning. I supposed, quote, she can't be doing that to me. So I looked over the way, but nobody was there. So I figured that can't be me. So I started walking away. And her bodyguard came up to me and said, Miss West, you'd like to speak to you. And I won't read the rest because I just basically said the whole thing. But I think these stories are about everybody, because I find a lot of names in here. Even Cesaro Kawas. I know a lot of us know Cesaro Kawas as being the first Asian American man or Asian man. He was Japanese. He was not American. He came to Hollywood after that. But he also played in a lot of movies with his wife, Tsuru Aoki. And I think that's his wife, and he played with her, and they had their own romance in the films. And because a part of it was because of the miscegenation laws. You couldn't see two different ethnicities on screen kissing or having romance, and so they would always bring somebody else. But that's why Anime Wong and Philip Ahn made a lot of movies, because they would do that, and they were some of the first Asian American couples in film. And when we see that and hear about it, it's like, oh, they did it back then. Why don't we see that now? We don't see that. We really don't see that very often, and I really would like to see more of it. But anyways, I'm ranting and speaking again. If anyone wants to jump in, but I am going to close the room pretty soon. I have to do something tomorrow, and I have not studied, and I need food. So, any last words from Jenny Lynn, Francis, or Mark? Thank you, and everybody else in the audience. Thank you so much for joining in. A lot of you have been here since the beginning, and so I just want to thank you for tuning in, listening, hearing about Asian American history and Asian AAPI actors and the Hollywood scene, theater scene. There's so much to talk about, and this is one of the only spaces that I know of that talks about it publicly. And so, and I don't like being the only one talking. I don't like being the center of attention. I hate being that person, but I do know a lot. I do like to share, and making spaces is what I like to do. So, again, thank you for joining in. And any last words from anybody else on the stage?
I'll start.
Right,
For me, just reiterating Mas and the things that we have talked earlier, that I think it is now our due diligence to also know more people, not just in our contemporaries, to and their stories, because these are the people, like we've been reiterating since the beginning of this room, that they're the ones who paved the way for us in this industry, and we have to also acknowledge and pay respects to that one, because for the Asian diaspora, we are slowly making being uniting much more than ever, to in regards to how are we representing ourselves in the industry, and as both people in the industry and just commoners in general, like we have to support each other, and we just have to be there. That's all. I mean, that's the best way we can do in order to further uplift and empower the representation that we all are trying to what we want to see, right? So that's all.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's about community. It's like speaking with each other, working together, not trying to be someone who's being one over the other. Mark, you had your mic off earlier. Do you want to say those last words before we go to Jenny Lynn?
Yeah. My question for you, Mas, is on the website. Is there because I know you talk about you have a list. Is there any way for us to see that list, or for others who want to learn more, like besides doing their own research? But is there something on the website to actually like see a list of Asian actors or film people that we should know about or learn more about on the website?
That's a great question. Right now, there is not. I have got an Excel sheet, but we'll be putting it out as things go. I will want to share with you another place. I'm trying to think, it's the A list. Maybe.
I believe Stanford Asian American Theater found organization in Stanford has a lot of materials as well, right?
Can you pin it or DM me that or something? I would love. I have another list, and my friend Jen Time made this. It's called the A list, but it's like there's a bunch of different A lists, and so it's really bad SEO. But I think it might be the dash A list. I'm going to find it out, and I will share with you. She's one of our partners. She's one of our biggest donors. Oh come on, and it's a pretty good list. Oh, it's not that. It's so many. Let me find it.
I think I'll try to retrace the document that I got from Stanford on the list of the Asian American history in theater and Hollywood. So I'll send that to you and also to Mark, because I know Mark's gonna be able to use it.
Thank you. Yes, and so there are. I mean, it's there. I know the A list started. It's got to be. Oh, it's okay. It's called it's www.the-a-list/list-db as in database.com. I will try to pin it. I don't see the pin on I don't see the pin on my thing anymore. I hate this program. But yeah, if it's called again, it's the-a-list-db.com. And it's a list of English-speaking Asian and Pacific Islander actors, directors, producers, and screenwriters, comic artists, and writers and authors. And it's a very intensive list. I think it's one of the better lists I've ever seen. One of the why I wanted to partner with them, because it just becomes helpful to see who are the famous people. Actually, seeing people who are just friends or people I've seen on Clubhouse on this list. I think it's searchable. I actually think I might be on here too. But yeah, it's really great. So even like people like Freddie Wong's on here, which is really cool. Preston Young. I've seen some of these people. My friend Trevor Zhao's on here. So there's a lot of great players. You can try it here. Mayumi's on here. So definitely check that out. That's a good start. Keep following us. We will be posting up something like that. I'm gathering more data so that we can kind of put it out and give it out over time and have a good place for it, because right now it's just an Excel sheet, and it's not very pretty.
I actually posted the link here in Clubhouse as well for those who wants to get that access. Yeah,
it's a really good it's a good start for things, and we'll be finding a way, because there needs to be a better source and reference to this. If you DM me, I'll probably send it to you, and it's no problem. But we're really trying to make something that's worthwhile, worth getting, and we'll be getting to share that out in emails and movies. I have a whole list of movies that we can all watch, but it's like I can't just it's part of it's proprietary, and I can't send it out because it's like we're not ready to do that yet. Otherwise it just gets lost. But if you're a friend of mine, just hit me up. But anyways, we're gonna close out. Jenny Lind, you have one of the last words today. Want to jump in?
Well, I just want to say that it's been a very insightful chat, and it's true, like what you said. I don't think there's many rooms out there to talk about things like this, and hopefully, if you have another room, I'd like to jump in again.
Yes, please do. Yes, we'd love to have you. We're doing this around 6 p.m. every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Sorry, not Fridays. Mostly Clubhouse on Tuesdays and Thursdays, though. This is the first week of the new year. This is a new schedule for me, so it probably won't change too much. But right now it's Monday, Wednesdays live streams. So it's just me talking. I usually record the podcast that way. If if anybody here wants to join in and get free coaching, like an hour worth of coaching, you can pitch me your story. You can ask me about your careers, like where do I go? What's the next? What's a good move? I can give you some good some advice. You can take it or leave it, but that's a great way to get started with me. You don't have to buy anything. We have our coaching classes and ways to work with me, but if you're looking for something like that, it's a great way to like say, hey, let's get some advice and share that. And that shares with everybody else who's watching or listening. You can speak with me then. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll have these clubhouse rooms where we have more people on stage. That's not just me talking, that we have more contributions. Again, because I like to hear from other people because I'm just one person. I like to hear from everybody's perspective and have deeper conversations like we had on Subtitles today. So those are always really cool. And then,
Mas, you're in LA, right?
I am in LA. I'm in Koreatown.
I'll be there in 2 weeks.
Oh, great. Yeah, hit me up. I'm around.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about COVID stuff, but you can hit me up. We'll do something outside.
Yes, they should.
And the last thing I'll plug in is on every weekday, I do morning reads. So I read a book right now. I'm reading Hollywood Asian, Philip Ahn and the Politics of Cross-Ethnic Performance. I have a good handful of books on Asian American Hollywood, and I will be reading them aloud and just reading them on Clubhouse. Probably won't be this good of audio because I'll just be sitting outside or something like that and sitting in the sun reading it. But if you want to read with me, you can buy the book, or you just want to listen in and hear what I'm reading and kind of like studies. I think it's really important that we keep studying. Learning does not stop at the end of school. We just need to keep studying on our own. But we have to be disciplined about it. So feel free to join me on there. You can go on, I think it's on the Strong Asian League Club. If you go to the clubhouse and go into our club, go to the replays, you should be able to see our previous ones. We do that at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and you can just convert that for yourself. I do about an hour of reading. Join in. I kind of got inspiration because of Asian Hustle Network and Daniel Anderson, who does uplifted readings. So I just think it's helpful. It's useful. It's nice to listen to a book, and it's kind of like an audiobook thing. I kind of do some voices and some commentary, but join in on that. I'll be doing that for a while until I feel like I don't want to do it anymore. But I need to keep reading. I think everybody should keep reading, finding books that they're interested in, and studying more than just I saw someone read Harry Potter again. Like, stop reading Harry Potter. It's a fine book, but once you've already read it once, read something else. Keep reading different things. But anyways, I'm going to close out. Thank you again, everybody, for joining in, speaking, for sharing, for listening in. For anybody who's on the live stream, I can't see anything. But for Clubhouse, I see about 10 users on here. Thank you so much for joining in. This has been great. My name is Masami Morita. This is a Strong Asian Lead. Follow us and keep up. And thanks again for the conversation. Have a wonderful night and get some rest. Stay clean and stay healthy. Thank you so much.
Night, guys.
And Francis, thank you so much for moderating. That was super helpful. I'm going to have to figure this out.
I got you.
All right. Take care. See you in a couple weeks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. How do I end the room? That's the question. I should just end. Oh, thank you for joining. I'm just ending. I'm about to go. So thank you for joining in. You can actually catch the replays on the live stream. I'd say do it there. It's better. I feel bad for the Clubhouse. I'm gonna turn this off. So please go ahead and leave. The live streams on YouTube and Facebook, they're the replays there. You can also go to the Clubhouse. All the links are in my bio. You can listen to the replays. They should be up in a few minutes once I stop recording this. So I just gotta learn how to stop this. So thanks for